the tariffs, but don't worry because you don't need money. According to Benny Johnson, who is worth millions of dollars, he makes a lot of money telling people now that you don't need money, okay? This is now the MAGA this is the MAGA line. It's you don't need stuff, you want it. You don't need money. You don't need any of these things. The most important thing is American freedom.
Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character, in fact.
You guys, being broke because of oppressive policies and an oppressive system, it builds character, okay? It will make you a man. This is what will make you tough. Yeah, that's right, baby. Not having the money to pay your rent, to buy groceries, to afford the ever-rising costs of living. You know, actually, wages, too high. What's all this talk about raising the minimum wage? What's all this talk about how, like, cost of living has overtaken people's wages? I think that we should make $0. Or certainly that's what Betty thinks.
You learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money.
Yeah, you do, huh?
Losing your character?
You know what I think would be interesting? If Benny Johnson does an experiment where he loses all of his money, where he goes down to $0. That would be a really fun experiment. He could video the whole thing. Okay. You could put it on YouTube. How Benny Johnson lives his life, how he builds his character after having lost every single dime. Gay people in video games is the end of the world, but not having money for groceries or rent is character building. Hell yeah, brother. That's right. Okay. You got woke in video games, and that's a problem. But being broke, not a problem.
Costs you everything. Losing your country costs you everything.
Like, does he? Okay, hold on. There's no way. He knows he's blowing smoke out of his ass. Look at him. I said this yesterday, but the Olympics of mental gymnastics, where they're like, all right, how do we yet again spin this into being America number one? Okay, how about, you don't need money. And in fact, by not having money, it builds character.
In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money. Losing your character costs you everything. Losing your country costs you everything. There are things you can't get back.
Oh.
The government can print more money, and it will.
Oh.
Sadly, that's just the reality.
Oh, he's literally doing the meme. He's literally doing the meme. He's like, Trump will just print you a bunch of money. Listen, brother. Listen, patriot. You need to stand up for your freedom. We need to save America. And then Donald Trump is just going to print you guys a bunch of money. Trust me.
It's fugazi. It's just that there's a boom and a bust every 10 years, and it's just been that way since the invention of modern markets in the 1600s. The Dutch crash of 1649.
He's getting
crazy.
crazy.
Heard of it? It's just the way that it works. It's the way that, like, monetary policy has always worked.
No.
Ups and downs, especially as the table.
Yeah.
gets reset.
I like that he's basically saying, you know how much your situation sucks now? Well, it's always going to be like that. There is literally nothing there. It's fine because it's always been like that. So, right. He is admitting capitalism is the problem. But that's okay. I need to know what the comments on this are. I need to know if this is like when the Daily Wire viewers pushed back on Ben Shapiro defending healthcare and saying that Luigi Mangione was evil, et cetera, et cetera. And they were like, actually, Ben, I have to disagree with you. Because he's saying a bunch of crazy stuff here. But one of the things he's saying is essentially, like, your life will always suck. Wasn't the whole thing was that Donald Trump was going to make it better? But he's like, no, it's always been this way.
If you lose the character of your country, if your town gets hollowed out, give me that photo of that town, man. Give me a photo of that town in West Virginia. If your town gets hollowed out.
How do you think these towns have been hollowed out? Do you think it has anything to do? Do you think it has anything to do with decades of American policies? It's not because China as a country is doing well, type of thing.
And your entire neighborhood gets addicted.
But this is what it is. It's putting all of the blame on the rest of the world. That's the American narcissism. It's not us, except if it's Democrats, but it's not us. It's the rest of the world. They have collaborated. It's a grand conspiracy. They have collaborated to destroy us.
Opioids. And your steel mill shuts down. And your farmers can't grow crops. And there's no more cattle ranchers. There's no more cowboys. There's no more fishers. There's no more workers. And we're completely and totally dependent upon slave labor peasants across Asia to make every good and service. And
yeah, that's neoliberalism. That is American neoliberal policies that specifically have impacted industries like agriculture. This is what has led to increased corporatization of family farms, the continuous degrading of the environment, climate change worsening because of neoliberal policies. We're just in a race to the bottom. Wait, unrelated, but he can't travel alone anymore because his wife found out he was fucking men? Benny? What? He can't travel alone at... God. Pff. Oh. Why are these people such... They're just... You know what? Just love yourself, okay? That's my message for them. Love yourself. Be who you really are. And not this bloviated version of a white American patriot. Come on. I know he was getting targeted gay cruise ads famously. God, it's... If I had $1 for every right-wing politician, pundit, commentator who used their platform and their power to make a crusade against LGBTQ people, and it turns out that they themselves ain't totally straight, I would have too many dollars, according to Benny Johnson, because the way to be an American is to have $0. My favorite Benny Johnson moment. Love when conservative podcaster Benny Johnson complained about seeing ads for a gay cruise without realizing that the ads were customized based on your search history. It's giving like Ted Cruz liking that porn tweet on 9/11. The advertising on the Military Times right now. Oh, God. Oh, Benny Johnson. Oh, Benny. Oh, Benny. Me when I don't know how the internet works, which is true. Like, I don't know how the internet works. Man, you know, These guys suck. That's what I have to say.
Pharmaceutical, then you've actually lost your country. And then we are the slaves. There you go. This is West Virginia. And it's so sad that this was a factory that provided thousands of honest, good-hearted, steel-working jobs for our fellow countrymen. And it was ripped. The guts of it got ripped out.
Look at my factory, dog.
Like so that they could make a couple extra points in their portfolio to get stock swaps with Pan-Asian countries.
Oh!
And they sold out their countrymen, and I call that traitorism, actually. I think that's the definition of a traitor. You can lose money. You can lose points in your portfolio. It costs you absolutely nothing.
Why do they fetishize manufacturing jobs so much? Because it speaks to a great American past, right? Like these guys who don't give two fucks about manufacturing workers, okay? They don't care about these blue collar people, but they use them as political pawns. Like that's what it is. It is conjuring up this image of a grand American past that has been destroyed by China, by gay and trans people, by women, by all of these villainous groups that have come together to destroy the hardworking, the hardworking Americans. It has nothing to do, but not laying the blame at all on Republican policies, also Democrat policies. Like they will blame Democrats, but of course they won't blame Republicans at all. These fucking losers like Benny simultaneously claim the praises of capitalism and then act like the results of capitalism occurred by the government holding a gun to the heads of CEOs, forcing them to offshore their production.
Nobody ever had their net worth carved onto their tombstone. Doesn't even matter when you're on your deathbed. Who cares? Just digits on a
He is so drama.
Ledger. What will matter is, did you preserve your nation for your children? Did you view your country as something more than just an economic zone and tax cattle and slaves to China?
Dude, there's something particularly gross about white conservatives like Benny always using the word slave, but in a way to talk about white people, you know? Like that's the people who I get, it's an ick. It's an ick when they use the word slave to refer to obviously white Americans. Yeah, you do not care about the kids making shoes in Asia. No, he does.
President Trump, no crying in the casino. Is it really? I don't care. It's too good. Final point I'll make on this is, who's the slave and who's the master?
Oh, see? Like, it's weird. It's gross.
If your pharmaceutical and automobile and phone, all the wires in your home, every electronic in your home, if everything that you use in your life is wholly and totally built by a foreign power that hates you, then you're the slave. You've always thought of America as the master of the world or as like an empire, but it's not.
Yeah. So basically, Benny Johnson's like, I think that these women and children who work in these sweatshops primarily, that they deserve higher wages. Like, is that what he's coming out to say? Because these U.S. manufacturers who sought to increase their profits, which meant that they were going to move the labor overseas because they could have much, much, much lower labor and production expenses. So is that what Benny is arguing for? Fair wages?
Not if we are totally dependent and on our knees before these third world goblin dictatorships. So it's time for a total reset.
Oh, here's the total
time for them
reset. That's what
to know
Russell
who's
Brand
boss.
loves to talk about.
And it's time for us to be the master.
So what, you know what's interesting? If you don't watch enough of this type of content, like these commentators from Russell Brand to Rogan to Benny Johnson to whoever, okay, there's a lot of them. If you don't watch enough, then you might not realize that they're all saying the same stuff. They'll have different vibes, you know, like Russell Brand has the creepy cult leader vibe. Joe Rogan has the like roided up, I look like I'm gonna blow up if you even poke me. Benny Johnson is going for the like, he's going for kind of like the fratty guy look. So there are differentiations between them, but you'll hear a lot of the same language, that they will zero in on the same language, because here's the thing. A lot of these people are driven by the masses rather than driving the masses. They look to see what's popular online. A lot of them look to see what like Joe Rogan is talking about because of how big Joe Rogan is. And then they will shape their commentary, their videos, their, you know, the topics they talk about, the language that they use around whatever else they see, around what they see doing well. So the Great Reset has become this very, very popular thing that you will hear repeated amongst these right-wing commentators, content creators. And it's that what they're saying is essentially what they're saying is they're using the Great Reset as a way to justify what Donald Trump is doing by saying we are going to globally reset enough of the global elites, right? These shadowy powers that have sought to destroy America, that America has to come out of this like a phoenix from the flames, and we're going to reset, and it is going to be for America, by America, in America, of America.
Once again, that's the point of this country, actually, to be the master of our own destinies.
So you can be the master of your own destiny as long as you don't have anything. As long as you have no money, no nothing, then you can be the master of your own destiny as long as you stand up for freedom. We went from expensive eggs are a national crisis to losing money costs you nothing really fast. God, I just want people to see how much of a grift this is. Please,